All right. Hello, everyone. Kyle, A0Z, and Sterling, N0SSC from 10 blocks away. Hello.
Yeah, hello there.
How
Coming
are
at you
you?
live. Finished my dinner, my second dinner
He's eating
of
Chick-fil-A in
chicken
honor
strips.
of Hayden, Ham Radio DX.
Yeah, Aiden, next time you come up, get the chicken strips. They're like oddly good, like especially from my local Chick-fil-A. Come on down to St. Louis.
All right, we are here. As you can see, the title, a reaction video from W1DED. If you were living under a rock, I'm going to fill you in on what's happened the last 2 weeks. So I was asked, Sterling and I have had this conversation multiple times on my channel, on podcasts, on different forums, basically anybody that will listen to us. We have these crazy ideas. Some of them are crazy.
Yeah.
Some of them are very practical on things that need to change in the contesting world. And I guess I was on my ramble horse, my high horse,
Your diatribe,
my soapbox.
Yeah.
And W1DED Kevin reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd like to have you on the show. And can you come on here and talk about, your crazy ideas?" And, here I am. Let's see. Let me pull this up. So here I am on Kevin's show, and we're going through. If you have not seen this video, please go through and click on the link below. It's there in all its glory. Now, I've got to say, in my defense, we were kind of rushed on this video. I know that Kevin had to start a little bit later than needed, and I had a hard out we did this at 9 o'clock in the morning. I had a hard out at 10 because I had a meeting that I had to go to. So I was a little rushed and I was a little discombobulated in some of my responses.
You were just throwing them out there left and right and left and
right.
I
was. And, I said 1,000 times. I said the word right 1,000 times. Like, I would end a sentence. I'd be like, right, thinking he was going to say, yeah, that sounds great to me, like instant gratification.
Yeah.
But, after that video, I knew that it was going to ruffle some feathers because some of, I here have had my contest hat on for, I don't know, I've been contesting for 10 years. Am I a top 3, 5 contester? No, I'm not even close to that.
Right. And nor am I. Like I feel like I'm coming in as a big poser, and these guys, these real contesters like N6MJ and K5ZD, who are the guys he interviewed after you, to get their takes. Like those are the guys. Like those are the guys who are in the top 10s. They're doing the 48 hours. They're doing the crazy stuff, and they've been doing it for 30, 50 years, or at least all their life since they were a teenager. But we like to have fun too.
Right. And here we go. Hayden, you're spot on. I got to get to the other. You're spot on. What defines a real contester? That is a very good question on what defines a real contester. Like, if you take a look at all of the top contesters, and then you take a look at all of the mediocre contesters that sometimes they submit a log, sometimes they don't, sometimes they get on for a half an hour, sometimes they even work the whole contest. I mean, there's 25,000 logs that get submitted to some of these larger contests, but really the top echelon is, I don't know, maybe 100, maybe 200, maybe 300. I don't know. Maybe that's even a larger number than it needs to be.
Well, I was shocked to hear, I think it was ZD who mentioned there's like 25,000 in these bigger contests, 25,000 unique call signs, but only 8,000 people put in their logs, which is still a lot. But like, what happened to those other 20 or 19, 18, 16, 17,000 people, whatever it is? Like they're just there to have fun, do their own thing. But that was interesting for sure. Yeah.
And, we'd like to see your thoughts in the chat on, contesting, real contester, what's going on in your mind, because we'd like to take a few comments here. And yeah, here we go. Kyle, you're killing ham radio. Farm. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna show some of the crazy crap that you see in QR.
You know what we should have done was you need a dial-in number, because these guys will call in the number and it'll be a little talk show with all the Zetters and their opinions, and that's a great opinion, but you're wrong. No, I'm just joshing.
Scout here. Maybe we should be a contest to determine who's the so man. I like my multi-ops. I like I don't even consider myself a good contester. I'm an average contester, but what happens is Sterling and I are part of a contest group, and we get to go down to the middle of Missouri and contest at this amazing station that does very well for having 3 towers and a couple of amps in the Midwest, right? Obviously, we're not going to compete against the people that live in Maine and Boston and, whenever we're talking worldwide contests. But for North American contests, I think that we do pretty good, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't consider myself a great contester either, because I only can sit in a chair for about 30 minutes before I get sick and tired of it. I need a chip or a drink or something, or to go grass. But when I am in the seat, I'm like pushing the highest rate you can see, in W0 Echo Charlie Charlie, but only for a little bit of time. And that's what I love. I like hitting that pile up or running that station, like 2 pedal to the metal, and then the pile up goes away, and then I'm like, oh dang, now I gotta call CQ for 6 more hours. But we do like a multi, we do rotations, and we get a pretty good score for a bunch of guys who are just doing it for, we're not there to win anything. And I think we put out some pretty high scores.
Yeah. So, there's been some comments in the chat on what is, Hayden said, what is a real contester? And I think of anybody who is a real contester as anybody who sits down at the computer and wants to contest, right? And in this world of contesting, it is very, and Chris said this whenever in the reaction video, we're going to get into this, where Kevin asked, who has a say in contests? And it's all about reputation, right? If you post big scores over and over and over, you are going to yield a bigger stick. And that's just the way that it is. And I understand that is not, I don't have an issue with that. What I do sometimes have an issue with is I don't like how it is, if you're a mediocre contester, it's like your opinion, you go to bigger contest people, or you go to, and this is not everyone, I'm not generalizing, but it's whenever you go to other contesters and they have a bigger station than they are shoo little fly, get away, like your opinion doesn't matter. And that's what irks me. And that's in ham radio also. It's
just in general. Yeah.
It's in general. It's the same presence or the same attitude of, you go to your local club meeting for the first time, you sit in the back because you don't know anybody, and nobody acknowledges you as a new member or a new person. And then you leave and you have this experience of, well, that sucked.
Yeah. Maybe ham radio isn't for me. And I see that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially for new people, like if you go to Contest University and try and, make small talk, you'll make small talk with, these people that you've heard on the air for years, but it's very hard to break in and be, hey, I'm AA0Z. I mean, now they'd freaking know me. They're just like, oh yeah, that's that effer that, is shitting on all of us. Right. But it's hard to like break in and say, hey, I want to learn. I want to be, better. And, oh, come here. We're going to take you. They're just like, oh, get out of here. Well, I'm on my own planet. See you later.
Yeah. Yep. That's okay. Those sticks in the mud.
Yes.
We can coexist. We can live with that. I think, and we don't need to force them to change. Like, we're not trying to make anybody change the way that they do ham radio. We're not trying to yuck anybody's yum. Although they like love to yuck everyone else's yum.
That is so true.
besides the fact, like, we are trying to change and make better a lot of the old school way of doing things, like to make them more new school, make them more appealing to more audiences, and to bring more people into ham radio. I need to put my gestures up here. And don't let me go on to a rant for too long, because I'll jump the shark and we'll have everything solved. But generally, yeah, it's, from a youth perspective, I'm 32. And I've been doing ham radio since I was like 13, 14, and got into contesting from field day, and been in love with it since. But I don't contest a lot, so people are like, "Oh, you don't really know anything." But it's like,
yeah,
well, I guess I'm dumb then, and you shouldn't hear my opinion. But I did found youth on the air in the Americas, and there are a lot of opportunities there to overlap with what is popular now, and like to leverage what technologies are available now into the ham radio space. All that is like going to make contesting on the air contesting, and not, I think there was some conversations about like these things. Like, I think you mentioned your PlayStation comment was like, it sounds like some of this stuff's going off there, but like, no, contesting is going to be contesting, but like there will be technology advances that are continuing to advance, and some of the things I learned in that show with the big guns, that should expand more. And I think there was a comment in here like, bust out the biggest wallet and you'll make changes. It's like, well, I mean, I don't know if that's true. I mean, unless we like go pay people to do software, but like everyone here is a volunteer. And I think that's the way it should be, but that means it's taking a long time. And I think I value K5ZD's comment on like, it's going to be a long process. And Kyle and I have been doing this for years. Actually, Ward was the first. Ward Silver, N0AX. This is going back to like before 2014. He like when he drove me to Hamvention one time when I was in college. He just was doling out ideas over the years, and he needed somebody to like go make them happen. And things like contest modernization, game contest within a contest, collegiate amateur radio initiative. What can we do with that? And it's kind of blossomed into like some real things, but they're real insofar as like, it still takes a long time to gain a traction, to gain mass appeal. Like, there's a lot of people who are very against it. That's of course okay. And there's the curve of adoption. We're before the early adopters. Like, and in fact, there has already been adopters. Sorry, microphone. Like some of the OG contesters and Craig. I forget the call signs, but the guys on the contest crew who have done some things and then stopped doing the things because there wasn't that much interest. And I've done that too. I've done some contests and some events. Like, I had this youth contesting program that was like, everyone loved it, but like no one did it because it's too much work and that sort of thing with Young Amateurs Radio Club. And then they moved, they actually grabbed that and made it something great. Turned it into a real thing, but it just takes time. Yeah.
So let's go back. I pulled some clips here that we can comment on. So this is from the contest crew's reaction to my video. And I want to thank Kevin. They didn't shit on me too much. They actually gave me some accolades, which, I'm very grateful for. I mean, these three guys, Randy, Chris, and Dan, they are the top contesters in the world easily. So let me just play, and this is at 1.5 speed. You're just going to have to deal with it because that's how I watch videos. Oh, hang on. You guys can't hear that. Hang on, guys. I know. Let me, oh, hang on. You guys are going to crap on me anyway. Here we go. I got to share my audio here. Share audio window. Let's see. We'll just do the. Okay, we're going to try this again. Here is Randy talking about contesting is just not fair. Here, let me take us down to 1x speed or 1 speed.
No, do 2x.
Hang on.
Fast. Recalls a conversation, Randy, that you've made several times in the past, that ham radio contesting just is not fair. If you're a W1, that's different than being a W4. So tackle that whole fairness category for us, if you would.
I think this is the Gordian knot of contesting. In that, yes, contests are not fair. The stations aren't the same. The geographies aren't the same. The demographics of when propagation matches up with when people are on the air is not the same from one part of the world to another. So we kind of fool ourselves when we create scores and stack rank them. We generate a certain amount of bragging rights, but people who have been in the game for a while start to understand how to evaluate scores. Like a big score from one part of the world may not really be as great as a lesser one that's from somewhere else. And so you kind of sometimes have to look through it with a knowledgeable eye to say, hey, this isn't a score that we should really respect because it was done from a less advantaged area or from a less advantaged station. What you generally find, though, in the end is the good ops are going to do well no matter what. So it kind of works out in the end. But yeah, they're inherently, we can never call them fair. Even a WRTC is the closest attempt we have to fair, where we take 45 guys and give them similar tri-banders on 100 watts in a similar geographic region. And even there, you see a wide disparity in scores. Some of it.
All right, we're going to stop it there. Sorry about the echo. Still trying to figure out. But so, contesting is not fair. It is literally as much dollars that you want to spend on your station. You can build a $500,000 station and compete.
And it absolutely is pay to win. Like, I mean, if you buy an island in the Pacific and you can put a station on it, like, you pay to win. If you buy like a big gun station, or like Ward buy a contest station and you have land, you're going to beat like the tri-band wires. But like, I mean, the innovations of the last several decades, if you will, in contesting are things like categories and overlays and that sort of thing. And like, when we're talking about somebody's going to operate for 12 hours, another one's going to operate for the whole 36, or maybe another one's going to come in at 2 hours. Like, at least we can see that on the like online scoreboards, but like, can we come up with equitable ways of scoring, or at least comparing in a, not a, like, it's not going to get you a plaque or anything, but it's like for the 4 hour people, these are the scores for people who operated 4 hours. But then the problem is, like, what if this 4 hour person operated only one band on this time of night, and this one did a big pile up for the whole time? Like, there's a lot to think about there. And this isn't even going to the point of, the big contest monitors, like real-time scoring and the streaming and whatnot. These are just like little things that could be improved. Yeah. And don't even be starting on log checking, but
So here's Randy, and let's see if I can get the audio right here. Here's Randy talking about people want shorter contests. We hit on this a little bit, and I'm glad that he said this. But there's people want shorter contests, and in a 48-hour contest, shorter contest means like 12 hours. That's still too long, So let's see what Randy says here.
So that's not even a new thing. One of the things that I ran a survey when I was the director of the CQ contest, and was getting opinions from people about, well, how should the scoring change? How should the categories change? This kind of thing. And it was very interesting, some of the responses that came back. And one of the things that was created was the classic category. The classic overlay is a category that's for someone who has one radio and operates 24 hours. And the genesis of this rule was from these surveys, where I could see over and over again that there were many people responding who would say some variation of, I really like to compete, but I just can't spend the time, or I don't have the physical ability to stay in the chair that long, or whatever. And so what you could see was there's a class of people out there who would like to have a shorter time frame, but they still want to have that constraint so they can compare themselves with other people.
So wouldn't it be cool if we had, let me pull this down here. I got to thinking about what Randy said, and I mean, wouldn't it be cool if we had the technology, right? So you entered in, I mean, granted, this whole discussion is about putting technology in front of you to make contesting more accessible and fun and whatnot, but you're still putting RF into into the air, right?
Yeah.
And Randy had said that, it's all about putting RF into the air. I totally get it. And it's all about, you can't change it too much because you have these guys who've put $500,000 into a station and they have a record and they want to keep that record, right?
Mhm.
I totally get it, right? But I was thinking, you have these guys that put these $500,000 stations in Maine, and then you have guys that have wires in trees at 30 feet and they live in, Minnesota, right? Probably not the best way to win a worldwide contest. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a program that you could still go and log into N1MM, but it's sending your stuff up to a server, and based on where you live and what type of antenna you're using, you would get a multiplier. So therefore you could compete against the people in Maine and you could get a bonus. Like if that person in Maine contacting someone in Spain is worth 1 point, but if you contact somebody in Spain, it might be worth 3 points, or, there's a whole, we can use technology to do all these cool things. And another thing that I thought of is, I use the analogy of pickleball, where if you go and play pickleball anywhere, probably around the United States, it's like hotcakes now, is you go to a park and they say, hey, free pickleball or pickup games at 7 p.m. And you go in and you put your paddle in a box, and those 4 people play, and those 2 winners go on, and it's like a bracket system. So the winners start to play the winners of other matches, and then you have this winner chicken dinner, and you have this hierarchy that happens. Wouldn't it be cool if we had these sprints during these bigger contests where you could say, hey, I'm gonna contest for the next 2 hours, and you had 15 or 30-minute sprints and you were competing against one another. And then before you know it, at the end of the 2 hours, you had a master winner that bubbled its way up through the bracket, and that is your competition, and you won. And, you might get a certificate for that because you won a 2-hour sprint or something,
Yeah. I think Randy's point was it was Craig's point or Mike's. I don't know. I'm trying to remember their names. That we don't have to craft contests where everybody wins, because you're just not everyone's going to win. This isn't a millennial participation trophy, but we want to create incentives where more people can win smaller things, and that's what's already happened with overlays, categories, contests within a contest. Leverage those things more to bring more people in, especially if it can create some sort of critical mass outside of the contest itself. Within the contest, it's kind of, I don't know. It's you need a contest. You need all those people on the air, and then doing things at that same time is where it's key, and trying to stay within the rules and kind of not making, doing things that make sense and not surprising anybody with an extra exchange on the contest or whatever. But being able to leverage what's already on the air and then putting that into your database and doing all of your magic real-time scoring, and or doing matchmaking sort of situations where the people who are connected into the matrix, the ham radio matrix, know it knows where people are, what times it are, what other stations are on. It's looking at spots and spots and RBN and stuff, and it's oh, try to work this guy, try to work that guy. Or this group of people, you are now in competition with each other for the next 30 minutes. And here's one thing, I'm gonna share my screen if I can. I've tried it before, but there's already a technology that exists, and it's not just WebSDR. It's the fact that these receivers, this is all the QESDRs, all of these receivers are color coded. I mean, the orange and green are different, but the ones that are red and are tinted darker, it says right here, click on a map, blah, 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 blah. Brighter colors indicate more sensitive receivers. How about a handicap for your noise floor? I know W0EEE has an awful noise floor down here in Raleigh, but right next door to that, us in Steelville over here, we have a 0 noise floor, but we're right here next to each other. And so what if we could do something like this, where we do take a measurement of our station over a lot of bands. For example, what does it sound like on 80 meters and 40 meters especially? and then have that as a handicap. You see how this says SNR score over, I don't know if the hover over pops up, but it
No, it
says
doesn't. Oh yeah, it does.
SNR score 9 dB. This one down here has an SNR score of 25 dB. So what if we said that like this one has a handicap of whatever, come up with some math, and this one doesn't? Like this is closer to a 0 handicap. This is like a plus 9 handicap or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
You can come up with something like take the average of all of the good stations, or take the average of all the stations, and if you're off that mean, then boom. That's one idea, but that's complicated. Like, of course, you need to do like complicated things, and I think some of the comments on the Zed was like, streaming might be a disincentive because it's too hard, but it's like streaming isn't an incentive. Like it's not to, like, in my opinion, it's not to like make money, gain more followers, etc. It's to get more people into ham radio. Like if you're doing it for a pecuniary interest, like I know that borders on like the rules, and we can debate those rules in terms of like what is pecuniary interest, what is ham radio doing when you're streaming. But it's not about that. It's about getting more people into ham radio and exposing it to more people.
Yeah.
Right. That's my opinion. And that's where all of this comes from. Like once we do that, and then also these other monetization things that the young people who already know about, who already are into with gaming and instant gratification. Like I know the boomers and the old guard who has been contesting, they don't, instant gratification is the devil, but like that's what everything is running on these days.
Yeah.
And you just have to live with that. And we're not telling you to go be instantly gratified. You can take your 6 months if you want. That's fine.
Yeah. Scout says, how would you confirm a station's noise floor? Honor system amongst contesters? I'm sure that will go well. Here's how you do that. I've already got this solved, right? So if every single radio had an Ethernet port on the back of it, and it was reporting real-time stats to a central server, right? And then we get AI involved, and as you're making QSOs, right, it's calculating the noise floor between QSO rates or between QSOs, right? So whenever you take your foot off the PTT button, it sends to the cloud what your noise floor is, right? And as you're working more and more stations, it gets better and better to learn what that noise floor is at that particular time on that particular frequency, right?
Yeah.
So then,
I mean, yeah, the self-reporting aspect is hard, but like with the connected digital future of amateur radio, I mean, FT8 already does this. You get an SNR reading, and you can
right,
multilaterate's the wrong word, but calculate how far off the SNR, like what does vocab say the SNR should be, and then how far off is that from your station versus their station. That's FT8. Doing it on single sideband is a different story, or CW.
Right.
But with CW, if you're doing it with something that can detect the noise and signal and show you, I know even the G90 has an SNR value. I don't know if it's outputted from the radio, but the G90 will show you an SNR instead of like it'll actually show you the noise to signal to noise ratio, and not just like the minus whatever. It's kind of interesting. But things like that. If you have a flex SDR, flex radio that's built in, there's probably an ask to be made of flex to be like, hey, give me like output of the average noise signal, or the noise, average signal
on the API
over the whole band over the API, and then or just an SNR measurement of I don't know. There's some ways to do it, but that's just like, here's the things we're throwing out there that are like, let's roll with some ideas,
Right. And it doesn't start, but it doesn't. The manufacturers of radios are not helping this, where they're literally putting a DVI port on the back of a computer so you can. It's like
a radio. Yeah. No.
When can we see a radio that has Wi-Fi built in? Every single radio that has Wi-Fi built in, or an Ethernet port on the back. Like when can we get to that point? And I understand that these radios have very few profit margins, and you talk to Ray and you talk to Flex, and they're just like, we make $100 per radio, or whatever the case may be. And I guess my reaction to that is, oh my God, you're like, well, why do you even make radios then? Like, if the product,
they have to answer to a lot of people, and
Yeah.
and they have to make a one radio to rule them all in a lot of cases. But there are things that can be done, and I
Yep.
mean, there's ideas that will take decades to implement, things like that. But
there is another clip that I want to play here, and let me set it up. This is Randy talking about a contest within a contest, and Randy hits on my point that I made with Kevin all over again. And let me see if I can pull this in here, and let me mute the audio here. I got to hit 5,000 buttons before I can play this damn thing. Hang on.
Entry, which hasn't generated huge numbers of entrants. But one of the things we look at is what kind of innovations are these guys trying? Some of the Russians will do this in UA9, and they'll have different stations and different parts so they can work, and they'll move around which station is active at some point in the contest to try to maximize what their score is. So there's plenty of room for experimentation there. But where I was going was, if you wanted to make your own category, get 10 of your friends together, decide what your rules are going to be, and operate the contest. And you have a choice. You can either have people send the logs into the real contest and send them to you, or you can just have them send them to you, whatever. The contest is all about activity. We want the activity. If you decide to run your own sample experimental contest in the middle of it, if you can use the results that we officially generate, awesome. If you don't want to make your own, that's okay too. But there's no reason people can't try stuff inside one of any contest.
Perfect. That is, I mean, that was the gist of, some of my points on, we can make these contests within a contest. We just, have to have the grassroots effort to start it,
Right.
Joey says, what about co-op contests? Instead of competing against each other, trying to do some co-op objective of enough contacts or passing traffic, similar to co-op games like Overcooked, or I don't even know what that is. Hinabi?
Yeah, I'm thinking of like club. So every contest has like a club contest entry, which is a cooperative part. Like you're trying to make scores for your like SMC, Society of Midwest Contesters, or the Frankfurt Radio Club, or Potomac Valley PBRC. Like there's radio clubs that are geographically based. So like SMC is like the black hole in the Midwest, and we're just barely in it here in St. Louis. I could see a place where it's like we're trying to we're cooperating with our SMC folks, even though we're competing with them. It's like a cooperation. That's like the closest that exists right now that can be leveraged for.
Well, and we have that. It's called the Champions Cup, right? So SMC against Potomac versus FRC versus Northern California, right? And SMC always comes in last because we have the least amount of participation, and we have way less members than some of those other contest clubs. It's that happens, but it's very hard to get participation in some of those contests where you always come in last, and you're just like, what's the point anymore?
Yeah, especially where we're relocated.
There's Molson. I haven't seen Molson in a while, but Molson, you should go and check out W1DED's interview, and then you should go out and check out the Zed. We're going to get to what we've been rapping here for 30 minutes. Should we? Well, first, I probably should have mentioned this 30 minutes ago. We have a Discord. If you go to the description down below, let me share my screen here, and this is the Radiosport 2.0 Discord. If you go over there, and the link is in the description, go over there, and this is where we're chatting about Radiosport and the next versions. We're just throwing out ideas. We've got a development channel that if you have some development skills and want to contribute, you can come over here and voice your opinion and what's going on.
Yep. It's a good echo chamber for us contesting nerds.
Yeah, it's literally like, it's just us talking about different things, and like Sterling said, an echo chamber. So yeah, go and check it out. Hang out, talk about contesting. And I had a conversation with Scott Wright this afternoon, K0MD, and he's out in Visalia. And he is on my side. If you go and take a look at his comments on Kevin's interview, the first interview, he's basically like, Kyle is spot on. There needs to be some changes. I understand that we can't change overnight. And also we need to pull the history up by its bootstraps and not forget the history, but also think, we need to change and use technology to our advantage. And he was very appreciative, and he was going to create or he's in charge of the contesting forum at Versailles. And he actually is going to pull some people up on the stage, and they're going to literally play my video and they're going to comment on it. And I'm like, well, crap. I guess, all of the people in Versailles is going to hate me too. Because I said, all right, whatever. Hayden, thank you for the $10 super chat. Appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing for Radiosport. Eventually, people will realize it needs to change. Thank you, Hayden. Appreciate that. That's like $400 in Australian pesos that he just gave. Or some Chick-fil-A. We should send some Chick-fil-A to you. Actually, I was thinking about that. I saw a big old bottle of Chick-fil-A in the store. I was thinking about buying it and send it, but it's going to cost me $400 to get it over to Australia.
I'll trade you another thing of Vegemite.
Yeah, Sterling loves that.
I almost
Vegemite.
ran out. I love that stuff. It goes on everything. It goes with cheese, and it's good.
Let's you want to have some fun here? Let's So if you go to the QRZ, and first let's go to the homepage here. Let me share my screen. Oh, what a shit show this is going to be.
Let me do something first. Let's while you're pulling that up. And I don't know if this works well or not.
Hang on.
That are going down this path.
I've gone into the matrix of sharing. Hang on. Okay, go.
So K5ZD mentioned this Ham Award. This is a thing that is oddly branded. I don't know where I've seen that before, but it looks familiar. But anyway, this is what he was talking about: is an award management system for ham radio operators. Blah 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 blah. You put in your things, and it does UDP, live score. Blah, oh, it's so cool. And then you go up here, and it's like, oh, pricing. Interesting. You have to pay for this. And I don't actually know how this works. If this is like what WRTC buys, or if this is like what is Hunter and Activator. So it gives me POTA vibes, but it's multi-activators for every award from any device. There's a lot of vagueness, so I need to look in more into this. But I just Googled Ham Award after he mentioned it. And then I have to shout out World Radio League, because I mean they are honestly trying to do something in this way too, but you can definitely give that. You have this feeling of like it's gonna be something about money, but nice call sign, dude. But right now you can log contacts and do all this stuff, and it puts you on this globe, and then they had this solar eclipse QSO party thing, which I'm interested to see if it actually worked out. But they have this trying to do real-time scoring, have membership, have like a social media thing. It exists, but these are the same people who bring you ham radio prep. So there's some I would say money behind it. There's actual developers putting it out, and it's a little bit more open world now. But I don't know. We'll keep an eye on that. And then the thing that everyone uses right now is Contest Online Scoreboard, where you post your score and you have this kind of list. You can click some calls and get a breakdown, or like I think there's like a way to show some graphing. Like here's some graphing you compare here and there. But this is like what we use right now to compare our scores in real time. Of course, these can be totally wrong. Like you can put in whatever number you have, and so these aren't valid. And even the contest rumors like 3830, 3830, 830 scores, where everyone posts their scores after the fact. You can see how you did, like not in real time. Like you have to post your score up here, but it's self-reporting.
Yep.
And then you have Live Score, which is a competing version of Contest Online Scoreboard that exists, and it has more buttons. But I don't think we use this very often. I think this is some guys in Russia have been, looks like donate to guy in Russia. And then contest within the contest, the NA Collegiate Championship is a contest that happens during NAQP, except the colleges are the guys who are competing, and they are required to participate in this contest, post your score online, do all of that, so you can get like some real-time rivalry going between colleges. So that's just some things that exist. I'm still just fascinated by this branding.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right.
If you know, you know.
Yes. Eric, thank you for the super chat. Here's something to drown your sorrows after the video is played at Vasaya. Oh my gosh. Yep. And then let's see. There was another. Oh, speaking of gamification of ham radio, the frequency frenzy poker game with FT8 is a fun example. Yeah, it is. That is a really cool what they've done. And I don't understand the algorithm on if you contact Russia or North Korea, why isn't that an ace? I don't understand the algorithm, but it's I guess it's all random. So is cards. So yeah. So here is let's do this. Let me go my entire screen, and here's the Z, right? So here I am, front and center. I got an email and said, "Hey, take a look at QRZ," and I was just like, "Oh crap! I know exactly what this is about."
And you've been there for days now.
I've been there for days, and this has got 10,000 views. It's got 213 comments, which is probably one of the largest comments here. Here's my mug, front and center. Can't wait. So then, this is. Everything that is wrong with QRZ is in this post. If you want to literally go see every curmudgeon that has ever walked the face of the earth, that person has commented down in here. The best, I want to go down here to the best one. So the best one here is, seems that AA0Z really doesn't understand contesting. And then I love this. Has Kyle ever heard of 3830 scores? Claim scores gets posted as soon as the contest is over. Yeah. Whenever you want to lie about your score, sure. You can, self-report what your score is. Sure. Why not? Yeah. There's lots of sprints. The SMT, MCT, CTT held every week, 1 hour per session. Lots of other examples. There are so these are all CW contests. There are SSB sprints, but getting activity and there's not a lot of activity for those SSB sprints. I have called CQ for 30 minutes one time on a SSB sprint and didn't contact anybody. So,
well, it must have been your antenna was not connected, obviously.
I guess so. It must have been, and then, there's there's many people who have come to my defense. Oh my God, there's 15 posts.
Pages, and there's some defense. There's some
How does one define a great contester? By height?
Oh man,
it's great. Here's somebody that's defending me. Kyle is quite radioactive in contests, certainly greater than average.
It's going to be on Chip's good side.
Yeah, there are many people who came to my defense and defended my ideas. Which, thank you. If you put anything in the comments below, or not comments, but the comments on the video, and defended me in QRZ, great. That's awesome. If you didn't defend me and you're in the stream, and you know, it is what it is. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone's got a butthole that shit stuff out of it. Everyone has an opinion. So,
man, you don't want to hear my opinions.
But I did get a ton of email, and 90% of it was very supportive, and I literally got 10% of that email that was just hateful. Like I didn't understand that somebody could write 3 paragraphs and just shit on me over and over and over. It was just it was great.
Yeah, you underestimate how much time these folks have. I mean, they're contesting for 48 hours. What are they going to do when they're not contesting?
Right.
Is defend the way that they do contesting. It's like, we're not trying to take anything away. And chill out. Take a pill.
Thank you, Greg. My favorite contest is steamroll. That's whenever me and Kyle roll over each other. That's always been. Greg, you're about 3 times my size, so yes, you always win. Anyway, yeah. So here we are. We're streaming on a Thursday night. Still talking about contesting. And here's the bottom line. Here's the bottom line. I stirred a bunch of people up. I got people panties in a frizzy. They were all up in arms about contesting. And you know what it did? It raised awareness about contesting, right? There's now some people that don't. Now they get it. Now they're just like, oh, I understand kind of what's going on. Or I feel your pain, Kyle. I know what you're talking about, and now I want to be on your side, and maybe they'll start a contest, or be in a contest, and try and experience what it is to be a little pistol in a big pond. So it's
right on. You are.
It
Kyle.
struck the point. It struck the point. Now,
yeah, we're not. I don't think we're intentionally trying to do that. Like, we're not trolling. But it is extremely effective to get the conversation rolling, and putting some more thought into it. And not only that, like, a lot of folks in your chat has been like, I've never contested, I should do that. Or things like that. And that's what the point is. Like, we contesting as a sub hobby within the hobby is still, I think, pretty understated. Like, it's a big deal during the WRTC, but go on YouTube, look up ham radio. It's going to be Incom. It's going to be Josh, ham radio crash course, ham radio 2.0. It's going to be, here's the newest gear, and then pota, lots and lots and lots of pota, or whatever the CW key du jour is, and that's all fine. But we want to come up with a good way to do contesting right on this platform, so we contesters can also benefit from those eyeballs. So POTA exploded because it's all over YouTube, and there's all these people doing it. People are getting into CW because everyone's doing their CW streams. I mean, it's correlation isn't causation, but you can feel the pulse of ham radio by watching it on social media, either on the Zed or on Ham Radio Fuckers or on YouTube. And I think YouTube is it's the internet. So
yeah.
The influencers are changing, how people in ham radio, not really changing how people in ham radio are enjoying it, but just exposing their particular passion. And the more people are like, I want to do that. And they're like, go do that. So they go to a POTA or learn CW. Now, contesting needs to come around, but all you see in contesting is CQ Worldwide DX contest. This is N0 SSC. CQ Worldwide DX contest. This is N0 SSC. CQ, and then you get one or two stations, and it's super boring. So ESPN 73, what are these short-term contests, and then how can we make it fun in a streaming environment so that more people watch it and then want to do it themselves? There are tons of people who go on YouTube or go on Twitch and they watch video games and they live vicariously through these people, but almost all of them are also playing those video games. It's it's a tacit advertisement for ham radio.
Yeah.
Or for that particular video game. The more people watching a video game means the more people are playing that video game. The more people streaming it, and the more people playing it. Same for ham radio. If we can expose that on the internet in our ways, like whether it's a reel or a live or a YouTube stream or highlight reels, like it doesn't have to be the whole thing like Kyle did for MoQP. But there was 15 people watching and maybe 9 at any given time. Sure, it's boring, but I jumped in every so often and I started complaining about how Kyle was calling CQ or whatever else, because I wasn't there. I had to go do something else. And it's things like that. That community is fun to be a part of. It just grows ham radio. And
yeah. Eric said, "You are our poster child for anti-contest. You're my boy, Blue. You're my boy, Blue." Scott asked me on the phone. He's like, "Are you gonna show up at Contest University?" And I said, "I don't think so anymore.
You're gonna need to grow a mustache.
Yeah,
wear a wig.
I'm gonna have to go in there with some body armor,
grow some gray hair." Contesting is perfectly fine just the way it is.
And then we talked about how boring Contest University is, and they need to change that up. But that's another stream. That's another stream. But
yes. And then one more thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, Scout 75. I judged the last 3 Midwest Steamroller contests. Greg is correct. He won in both technical form and level of difficulty for Kyle never had a chance. Thanks, Scout.
Oh man,
what's your one more thing? Finish your thought.
Yeah, I wanted to put to bed like the monetization, like YouTube. We're all making big money.
Oh
here.
Yeah.
I think a good idea actually would be to get on the ham lawyer who has done some videos. He's on YouTube, and he's talked about a few places to talk about pecuniary interest. He's mentioned it. We've talked about it with him before about like, if I'm streaming on YouTube and doing ham radio, am I doing ham radio for pecuniary interest? And you get into the same kind of argument that the drone community, the RC drone and DJI, like quadcopter community gets into of, well, you can't post videos on YouTube of you doing drone work because that's commercial. But like they invented those laws just recently, and now, or at least applied those laws to a new form of aviation just recently. Which a lot of people are debating with and disagreeing with, but such is life. But ham radio hasn't really had that debate. The FCC probably doesn't really care that you're making money on YouTube by doing ham radio, but what is the spirit versus the law? Like, how can we actually read that? I'm not a lawyer, but I think the pecuniary interest rule, we're not saying get rid of it because it's important, but I'm saying that we're not going on YouTube to make money. Like, we're doing ham radio for the fun of it and sharing our experience on YouTube. Right. And by the way, doing that gives you advertising revenue. The act of doing ham radio, as long as you're, say, not promoting your thing on the air or not trying to sell your channel or sell your goods or whatever on the air, I think is valid. And if you're just streaming your experience and you happen to be paid the advertising revenue, I mean, if it isn't you, it's YouTube. Like, it's Google giving that money. So
yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute. That's and
it's not a lot of money. It's really not.
Right, but I mean, even if it's one fraction of a cent, that's making money, right? So this is no different than if you go on Facebook and talk about your ham radio things that you like to do. Guess who's making money off of you? Facebook, because they're putting ads on the side of the Facebook post, right? So whenever we talk about this interest, I interpret this, and maybe we should get the ham radio lawyer on to talk about this. I associate that with, hey, we want you to operate ham radio, and we're going to pay you a fee to operate ham radio, right? That is illegal, right? Or we're going to hire you to work a parade and provide communications for a parade, but we want to pay you. You cannot do that, right? That is no. But you can offer your experiences for free, right? And say, hey, we're going to work that parade. It's for free. There's also a very fine line on what that parade, if that parade is making money. I mean, so a good example is here in St. Louis, there was a event called the Moonlight Ramble, and it was a event where you started at midnight and you rode your bike around the streets of St. Louis. Now, dodging the bullets was another thing, but it was a fun time. And all of the ham radio operators in St. Louis, we'd go out and we'd help do route patrol on the route as part of community service. Well, then it was a free service and they donated. It was a non-for-profit. Well, then a bunch of people bought the Moonlight Ramble and they were operating it for a profit. Okay. And then they came back and said, hey, ham radio operators, we want you to operate. Well, they were doing it for a profit. The owners were doing it for a profit. So the ham radio operators in St. Louis decided not to fulfill that thing. Right.
Right.
But I always think of, if I'm going to go out and stream on YouTube, I am doing it to share my experiences for a learning experience and for entertainment purposes, for making sure that I'm getting the word out about ham radio. And if Google is paying me that stipend, that is not because I'm operating ham radio. It's because I have a YouTube channel. Not, I could do other things on that YouTube channel that are not ham related that I get paid for. Right. So I think that, that's kind of a weak, now that I'm thinking about it, a weak, but I'm doing it for entertainment. I'm doing it to promote ham radio. I'm doing it to get ham radio out there. And, if I'm now operating ham radio and I am being paid and that's illegal, then we need to take every single YouTube ham radio channel off of the air. And we need to stop doing social media as a whole.
I mean, fair point. I guess the person who's receiving the money, I mean, if YouTube or Google is receiving the money or Facebook, they have nothing to do with ham radio. They're not using ham radio for earning interest. I think the scare is that you, Kyle, are making $1 million a video on every video. And it's oh, if you put a ham radio activation on there, well, you just made $1 million on that ham radio activation. But it's, there is a line, there's a fine line. And I think the precedence on the thing I was just talking about, Interstellar Salmon is talking about a U.S. operation in national airspace is regulated. It's commercial. You got to have a license for commercial thing. But ham radio is different, but similar. And I think it'd be good to have the lawyer guy on to kind of interpret that for us. And then, we all have our opinions, and mine is you can hit the do not monetize button and be totally clear of receiving revenue from that ham radio activation or that stream, and Bob's your uncle. But I don't think you are making money off of ham radio by streaming it. You are making money off of streaming, period.
Yeah,
that's just how I feel.
I mean, Brian makes a very good point. It's not like you're asking for super chats to make a QSO with someone over there. Brian, you have hit the nail on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think there's an argument to be said, if these guys know you're streaming and they go work you, I mean, the whole self-spotting thing.
Well,
I think
that's self-spotting.
That horse is dead.
Right.
But it's if you're drawing people to work you, it's I mean, you're not intentionally doing it, but you're gonna get a few more contexts. People find you on the web and they go, oh, I want to work him. And then they send you $10 for working you. It's well, I didn't solicit that, but what's the FCC going to think? It's things we are, that's what, modernization and revolutionizing things is about. Sometimes we come up with those blockages. I mean, look at the baud rate limit being lifted, and now you just have bandwidth limit. That was dilapidated. That was an old school requirement that didn't make sense in the 21st century, and now it's gone. This involves money, so that's more important, but it really comes down to the interpretations and actual lawyers, I guess. So
yeah.
So it's not off the table, but I think it's a valid concern.
I mean,
but I think if you're doing it right, you shouldn't be.
Yeah. I mean, it is further discussion, but I mean, my opinion is, if I am operating ham radio on YouTube, then I am in the bucket of all of these other, pota operators that stream, or not even stream, but, record their QSOs and put them on YouTube. Scout is in there. CJ or TJ with his CW stuff. He's making contacts on the air. That's illegal.
Yeah,
right?
And I think there's some conflation of like, you can sell ham radios, like you can sell the remote ham radio service, charge people for on their rental time, or ICOM can sell radios, but they're not selling them via ham radio.
Yeah.
They're selling a ham radio for you to use, and as long as you're not making money using that ham radio, then you're fine. And that's where a lot of people are like, but you are making money using ham radio. But it's like, no, if I turned off this stream, that radio would bring me no revenue. If I turn on the stream, now there's revenue. It's like,
Yeah.
I can see that black and white, but a lot of people are like, meh. Anyway, it's time for bed.
Yeah. We have said it all. You have said it all. I have said it all. Everyone has said it all. It's 9:00 Central Time. It's 10:00. Everyone should be in bed. Going night. Pixie's here, passed out. We've talked her ear off. She can't deal with all of this contesting, ham radio, negativity stuff that's going on. The bottom line is we're getting people talking about contesting. We need to change. Is it going to happen overnight? No. Is it going to happen soon? Probably not. Does there need to be a grassroots effort to make new contests and make contests within a contest and try and get the people who make contesting rules, get them to see that we need new overlays and new ways of operating? Yes. Do we need to incorporate technology into ham radio to make it cooler than it is and still put RF in the air? Yes. All of these conversations need to happen. And one of the QRZ people were just like, well, if Kyle wants to do it, Kyle needs to do it. Kyle doesn't have enough time to do it. I'm just like Sterling. I'm putting ideas out on the internet, and hopefully in the Discord and on email and the circles at Dayton and your local clubs, you're going out there and making a change and starting your own grassroots. And if that grassroots has, you push the snowball down the hill, and by the time it gets to the end of the hill, it's 1,000 feet wide. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like I'm a engineer at work, and I come home and complain about stuff and occasionally contest, and it's like, well, it wouldn't be cool if we could do this. And it's like, I mean, I could do that, but then I'd have to quit my job and learn how to code and code red, learn how to node red. And I guess I could do that, but
I mean, I know my limits. I know what I'm good at.
Right.
And one of the things that I'm not good at is putting people together and grassrooting things and organizing. I mean, I'm a project manager. Well, I used to be a project manager. Now I just manage project managers. But, back in my day job, I've lost that skill set, and I don't want that. I don't want to do that for ham radio. I do enough crap at work and basically adult babysit that whenever I come home, the last thing I want to do is adult babysit ham radio people. But I love putting the ideas out there, and people have more clock cycles than I do. And those are the people that I'm looking for to go out and conquer. There was a guy on Discord that sent me a huge PowerPoint presentation on everything that he thought was wrong with contesting. He hit the nail on the head. I'm just like, dude, if you got enough time to put that PowerPoint presentation together, you got enough time to do some grassroots effort here and get some people together and start, working on something.
Definitely. And that's what I'm open to. I mean, I'm that person too. I've written white papers. Go back to like good old youth at hamradio.fun. When I was an AWR editor, like I had these ideas back before they were cool. Or my blog, hamradio or inzerssc.com. Like I talked about contest monetization ad nauseum when I did YouTube, wink, wink. Like, and I'm happy to be a instigator or an influencer, depending on how you put it. And I'm happy to come up with these ideas. And like, while I'm contesting, like, oh, I wish I could do this, or I wish I could do that. I wish this was better like this. So like I write down my ideas, and, as an engineer, I can come up with like a list of requirements and a specification document if you want to go to that detail. But it's like, or, get on PowerPoint, start designing UIs and GUIs and like the process flows and flow charts of like how things work. And in my head, I'm just like, oh, real-time scoring is just so easy. But then, I actually talk to the guys who do the scoring and trying to keep cheaters out of it. And
Right.
I know there was a lot of talk about cheating and doing naughty things like that in the chat that we didn't address. But yeah, that exists, and that exists like whether it's modernized or not. And if we have a magic AI solving the log problem in 5 seconds after a contest, well, someone's going to figure out how to get their magic AI to defeat it, right? So there's this constant back and forth, and then it's crazy to me, like we haven't used the tools that are at our disposal to our best ability.
Yep.
But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, because it's like the guys doing contest scoring like would have found that by now, because it takes so many hours to do it manually and like figure out why did the robot say they didn't get it right. It's like, well, he missed the character by one and transposed this character here. And it's like a human has to look at that and be like, oh, I see what he did.
That's where we bring in AI. We remove the human element. We remove the emotion from it, and we just put it through AI, and it spits it out.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Who's going to
KMGT.
Dayton? Somebody said, oh yeah. TJ said, who's going to Dayton? Caitlin said, me. Matt said, me. If you're going to Dayton, put a me in the chat. Me. I'm going to Dayton. I've yet to figure out if I'm going to go to Contest University. I don't know if I want to poke my head in there yet. Actually,
yeah, I'll just walk in and Tim will be like, hey, come on. And then he'll see you and boot you out the door.
Yeah. I want to go for Katie and somebody else's youth forum. That's at 10 o'clock. I want to go for that. But yeah, I just wish that Contest University was a little bit more diversified in its forum speakers and topics. How about that? So
yeah, I've been getting a kick out of going to 4 Days in May. But I'm sure if you go to the same thing every year, it's going to end up feeling the same too. But at FDIM, there's always like some new gadget that somebody's showing off,
Yeah, the bat. The scooters will get you plenty of time to run.
Oh man.
All right. Well, we've had some fun. Everyone's shot out of a cannon. Everyone's got a lot of ideas. The chat was great. Thanks to all the chatty chatters out there, chatty catties out there. Scout was there, Jody, Brian, TJ, Caitlin, Eric, another Eric from Hawaii. Who else was in there? Derek was in there. I saw Molson in there. Matt from Indiana. Joey Surfs. I haven't seen Joey Surfs in Snurls. Oh, it's Snurls. I got I don't even know if that's your name. My eyes. I'm getting old. Crinkle is in there. Interstellar Starman. He's been in the chat quite a while for the last 3 or 4 streams. Hello. Probably should have done this at the top of the hour, but this is how we end the stream, boys and girls.
You get
Jason, KB1WSC was in there. Uber Geek was in there. Grayman Pota. Hey, Tim. Going to see Tim in a couple of days. Yeah. Hayden was in there at the beginning. Probably went to bed. Or no, he probably went to work. So there's Joey again.
Right, I was going to say, who's the guy who's not going to bed because it's like 4 a.m. in Hawaii or 10 a.m. in Hawaii?
Yeah. That's Eric.
There.
That's Eric.
Yeah.
It's like 5 o'clock there. Maybe 4 o'clock. Who knows? So, all right. Thanks, everyone. Again, go and watch Kevin's videos. Go and watch the reaction video from the contest crew. Randy and Dan and Chris make very good points, and there are contest royalty. They are the ones that you want to listen to on all of the issues that whenever it comes to what issues are really out there, those are the people that you want to listen to, not the curmudgeons on QRZ, because you're just going to get
not us either. We don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, it's like poop running through our fingers. We just we have no idea what's going on. It's just right through our fingers. So anyway,
we're not afraid to blab.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. CW Roundtable next Monday. We are going to be talking about CW Hotline and the cool things that you can do on CW Hotline. And then I'm off to More Expo with the new trailer, and we're going to do some overlanding and ham radio. Actually, you know what? Thursday, not this, a week from today, is World Ham Radio Day or World Amateur Radio Day. So,
oh yeah,
we're going to be on the air doing some pota and celebrating World Amateur Radio Day down in Springfield, Missouri at the More Expo. So, if you're at a pota, we'll probably work you. If you're not at a pota, we probably won't work you. So, how about that? So,
there you go.
Anyway, all right. Thanks, everyone. 73.
Peace out.